Hello, friends. Welcome to Islington Listens, wisdom from a community of faith that doesn't think the same, vote the same, or love the same, but we are trying our best to follow in the way of Jesus with compassion and hope. And so we begin. The truth is, Advent gives me a thrill. Not roller coaster or scared, but a thrill. A sudden feeling of excitement and pleasure. I awoke this morning, and so did you, to a new day, a new year. Not quite the thrill of jumping out of an airplane or an experience in the dictionary. It says an experience that produces a sudden feeling of excitement and pleasure. There are some amongst us who like to jump out and scare people to see them feel that moment of surprise. Or when people talk about riding racehorses, to ride a winner is always a thrill. It can be a wave of emotion or a nervous tremor. A thrill of excitement can run through you. It is embodied, not just thought about. You can put yourself in a moment where you planned to experience a thrill. You hoped for it, and then maybe it didn't arrive, but something else surprised you. Or you can go to a time where you were so surprised that it was almost a shock, an alarm. But the opposite of a thrill, well, it's boredom, isn't it? It's a numbness or a not feeling it. It's a missing it. And they say you can walk right through a mystery and not even notice it. So there's an invitation in this thrill of hope to be ready, to be awake. The prophets, well, they spoke plainly about what was happening in the world at their time. They invite people to be awake to what they're feeling, to weep and to mourn for the brokenness, the injustice, the unfairness, the pain and the suffering that they witness, especially a man named Jeremiah. He wasn't called the weeping prophet for nothing. He might not have been the first invited to the party because he kept calling people to pay attention. He noticed the ways that the world was not as it could be, not as it should be. And he saw the world through tears. And think how differently your posture is when you notice through tears versus righteousness. And Jeremiah also saw the sacred shining through. People say sometimes when tears arrive that it's a thin place that you notice God is there. Long before the birth of Christ, Jeremiah predicted the coming of this one. He told everyone the days are coming. They are coming when someone will come whose very name means truth and justice and love and compassion and peace and safety and righteousness are needed. Who will come to make all things right. And then we fast forward, give or take 500 years. The words we heard this morning fast forward into a time where a baby was born to usher in a new creation, a new hope, a new truth, a truth that the world would one day be restored. This is the very promise of God that began in creation and is now fulfilled in the one we know as Jesus. Perhaps this is what the season invites us to bear witness to. Advent invites us to be awake to the presence of Christ in our world. Hope. That baby grew to be a man who taught, preached, healed. And in the Gospel of Luke, we meet some of his teachings. He speaks in the traditions of the prophets, in the ways that he has been taught, and yet he brings a new twist. Isn't that what it means for a legacy and to be part of the generations that we are taught and then we bring it into this new day? In that chapter 21, verses 25 to 33, We hear Jesus reminding them that the prophets have been asking them to look for signs of this promised hope and to stay alert. For in every ending, there is a new beginning. So I invite you to listen to his words for a word or a phrase that is speaking to you at this moment in your own life, speaking into this new season. Jesus proclaims, "There will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and on the earth, distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, when these things begin to take place, stand up, raise your heads, because redemption is drawing near." And then Jesus told them a parable. "Look at the fig tree and all the trees. As soon as they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is already near. So also when you see these things taking place, you know the kingdom of God is near. Truly, I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all things have taken place. Heaven and earth may pass away, but my words will not pass away. Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighted down with dissipation and the worries of this life, and that day does not catch you unexpectedly like a trap. For it will come upon all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times." The now and the not yet. The awareness of the liminalness of our lives. Sometimes we bump up against it in the earliness and the newness of little ones arriving to the world. Other times we bump up against our own in the response from doctors and tests of the things that we carry in our bodies health-wise, and in the losing of friends and the ending of life. We are aware that the time is short and yet long. And the prophets have been inviting us to be alert to how we spend our time and our days. Kate Bowler, writer of our Advent online devotional, invites us to think about the Advent year, the season and the Advent that we're having now and the year that's coming. Could this be the year when we see it? The goodness that is coming like starlight from a distant time. Could this be the Advent when we sense it? That the springtime of the soul will one day last forever? Could this be the Advent when we notice the inbreaking of God's promises, full of blessing, of truth so clear and so bright that every shadowy lie must flee away, of compassion so deep and so strong that everyone is encircled in its embrace, of restoration so complete and so beautiful that there is gladness everywhere, and of justice so right and so satisfying that all will be well. May this Advent be the new beginning as we learn to live by the light of God's coming promise, glimpsing the world through tears while also seeing something sacred shining through. Our promise incarnate, a thrill of hope. A hope that meets our doubt, our seeking, our fear. A hope in the already but the not yet. A hope that speaks into the moments where we think we know what's going to happen. Be alert, stay awake, be surprised. Change is coming. Look for it, ordinary and unexpected. The thrill of a surprise. The stories will find us in the weeks ahead. And I am grateful to Arab-American poet Naomi Shihab Nye. She recalls this transformative, unexpected occasion of hope. It's not the Toronto Pearson Airport, it's the Albuquerque Airport terminal, but I want you to picture yourself there waiting for a plane. She hears an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days when you hear an announcement like that, for gate A4 was my own gate, so I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing loudly. "Help," said the flight service person. "Talk to her. We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this." I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke to her haltingly. "Shu dawa, shu bid ak habibiti. Stani shwe, min fadlik, shu bit siwi." The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there just later. Who is picking you up? Let's call him." We called her son, and I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother and would ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it, and then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, that they had 10 shared friends. And then I thought, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up about 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling about her life and patting my knee and answering questions. She'd pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts out of her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free beverages, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving us all apple juice, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend. By now we were holding hands. She had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green and furry leaves. Such an old country traveling tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world that I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This moment of hope could still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. A thrill of hope will find us. Perhaps your fingers will be covered in powdered sugar in this season ahead. It may even accompany us home. May it be so.
Thanks for listening, friends. For other ways to connect, go to islingtonunited.org. May God's wisdom and love keep finding you.